Hey everyone, this is Frugal Panda here with an updated review of the Lectric XPremium. As you know, this is the 100-mile range mid-drive e-bike that's brand new from Lectric e-bike company based out of Phoenix, Arizona. This bike costs around $1,799 plus tax, everyone, plus tax. Don't forget the tax. So anyway, I'm showing a quick ride around, but this is when I actually got this bike out and did a full ride on it. So I don't know what I rode, 14, 15 miles, checked it out. But this video is coming out before I actually put out a video of me doing another ride where I did a ride from one of the trailheads down to downtown Denver, which is about 12 miles, 12 to 14 miles each way, I want to say. So one way, and then so around 30 miles round trip. So I did a more longer range trip, and I can definitely tell you that this bike will get 100 miles of range. No ifs, ands, or buts, it will, especially if you're in pass 3 and 4, because the ride I did actually after this, I put up around 25, 30 miles on it, and I want to say I lost maybe 1 bar at the end. And if you know anything about electric bikes, especially these, the Lectric XP and the Rad Powers, that once you turn it off and you turn it back on for a minute, it readjusts. And even though it shows you lost a bar, you may actually not have lost a bar. So anyway, and that was like right at the end. So I firmly believe this bike would get 100 miles easily in pass 3. Especially if you stay off the throttle, which, to be honest with you, is kind of easy with this bike. I didn't use a lot of the throttle. So I can definitely say that the actual range of this bike is legit. I'm 210 pounds, let's say 220 with clothes and all that good stuff. So I firmly believe 100-mile range on pass 3 is totally legit on this bike. I know, like I said, including this ride and then a ride I did that was much longer and there was a little bit more hilly, it had more hills, and that one I did mostly in pass 4, and I barely dropped a bar. And what is that? I had 25 to 30 miles, and I dropped the bar pretty much at the end, like almost at my car. So before I turned it off. So that range is legit. It's on their website. So someone kept asking me, where'd you get that information from? Well, it's right on their website. And they say it's with a 180-pound rider. So, okay, imagine if you weigh 150 pounds, you weigh 160 pounds. Well, you can calculate it out in regards to your range. You're guaranteed. So I am not with this bike actually worried about like getting stranded somewhere like that. And what I've learned too, because I talked about it before when I was actually doing the initial review of it and I touched the mid-drive motor, how hot it got. It does get warm. Yes, it does. It can get hot. And what I've learned with this bike is and I might have said it in the last bike, but really getting used to doing this is you got to go through the gears like you would a regular bike. You cannot start out from a stop in, say, 6 or 7. You need to drop it down to at least 2 or 3 because you're putting a lot of strain on that motor to do all that work, and mid-drives don't operate the same as a hub motor. Now, I would tell somebody, and it kind of sucks because you really, Lectric XP doesn't have like stores everywhere like Pentagon and places like that where you can actually go try out the bikes. Because if you're coming from a hub motor, this is a learning experience in a way, and it is totally different. I don't want to say which one's more fun, but I will. Probably what's more fun is going to be your Lectric XP 2.0 because it's a hub motor. It's loud, it's obnoxious, it just goes. It doesn't matter what gear you're in. You utilize. You can leave. Okay, let's be honest. My Lectric XP, including my Rad Power bike 2, both of them, they're always in 7. I leave them in 7 because they're a hub motor. So I leave them in 7. It doesn't make a difference which one I'm in because the motor does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. With the mid-drive, you have to be mindful what gear you're in. And you don't want to go to 1. You don't really want to be in 7. I never went any higher than 6. 6 is plenty. I got this bike up to 26, 27 miles an hour on 6. So, okay, if I don't go to 7, I lose 1 mile of speed. Whoop-de-woo. You know what I mean? But when I first rode it, I was like, I don't know about this bike. But now that I've ridden it a couple times, I can say I do like this bike. I really like it for the range. And while I'm saying that, I'm really liking having this mid-drive bike because I know I can go like really long trips, like rides. But then I start thinking I also want the Lectric XP Lite too, just for a light bike to take with me to throw in the back, of a car or something too. So I can have the best of both worlds. I can either have this one with me, or I can have the Lectric XP Lite or something similar to that. You know what I mean? The build quality of it, as I said in the last video, my initial review, is excellent for what this is. Lectric XP bikes, they're cool bikes, but if you had other bikes, they're like, they're all right. But this one, the build quality, it is, as I said in the last one, it's a chunk. It's very thick. It's thick. The metals looks pretty strong. The welds look good on it. It weighs 73 or 75 pounds, I want to say, with both batteries. The build quality is much better. I love the brakes, the hydraulic brakes. They're really good. Getting used to using gears again, like a real bike. And I have a real bike that I never ride, but you know what I mean? Using gears again, it takes a minute, but you get it. And then you're like, start learning how to ride like you used to ride probably before you went to electric bikes. So make your choice on what you want in regards to these bikes. And I'm not telling you to get electric bikes, the Lectric XP brand. I'm not telling you to get those bikes. I'm just saying, look at between a hub motor and a mid-drive motor. There's pluses and minuses for both. This bike will give you much more of a workout. So when I went on my 24, it was probably 25 to 30 mile round trip ride after I did this one when I went to downtown Denver on one of the trailheads. What I found is I got much more of a workout than I did when I did that same ride before on that trailhead with the Rad Power and my spouse on the Lectric XP, because both of them are going to ride fairly similar. They're both hub motors. So I really noticed the difference. So I can tell I got much more of a workout. So if you want more of a workout, get the mid-drive. You want less of a workout, get the Lectric XP or a hub motor bike, Rad Power, whatever. So there is a difference. Also, with these, you can do a turn on them, which is more difficult. If you have the power going and say your Lectric XP or your Rad Power, whatever you have on a hub motor, when you're trying to do like a circle or something, you have to be careful because it's like a little turbo. They start kicking in and it takes you really fast. You can kind of lose control a little bit. Versus the mid-drives, it's smooth. There's nothing about it that jerks you. It's not herky-jerky or anything like that. It's basically like your leg strength like doubled on you is what it is. So, and that's how it kind of operates in a way. So with that being said, would I recommend this after my initial review? I would recommend this. Just realize what you're getting. There's pluses and minuses about the hub motor and a mid-drive. Depends on what you want for your needs. As I said in the last video, if you have any type of, now it's a step-through bike on this one too, so it's good for shorter people also, or people that have like hip issues, knee problems, etc. But also be mindful, it's not gonna be the same type of ride. So as I said in the last video, if you have you have injuries, hip problems, things like that, I would go with a hub motor e-bike. I don't care what people say, they got these bikes for free. I'm telling you, riding it, and I don't have those issues, but I work with a lot of times populations, older patients in my healthcare job. I wouldn't get this bike if I had problems with my knees or anything like that. Get you a hub motor bike, but take it in the lowest pass, like 1 or 2 or 3, just to get used to the bike because they are a little more jerky. But the throttling, all that stuff is much better on them in regards to getting around, especially if you don't have as much leg strength starting out more so. So I recommend this though. I still do. I'm liking it. I'm really liking the build quality of this bike too. I'm really liking not having range anxiety. And so depending on what your needs are, hub motor, mid-drive, look at either one of them. Now, I will say for this one, as a mid-drive bike, it has a throttle. That's a big deal. Most of them don't, as I said in the last video, so you're getting a throttle with it. The price is expensive, but not as expensive as most mid-drive bikes. Plus, you're getting 2 batteries. Remember that. And it can run on only 1 battery, too, so that's another thing. So you take that as you want. But if you look at both of them, the good thing about Lectric XP company right now, if you get the Lectric XP 2.0, you can now order the bigger battery, which gives you 65 miles of range. So you're getting a good in-between. So, hey, and if, that's a good thing. If you already got Lectric XP 2.0, Probably don't get this one unless you really want it, and just get the long range battery. And now you got 2 batteries. Now you got over 100 miles. There you go. But as past 3, past 4, I have no issues. I firmly believe this will get the range it says it will. Most definitely. You before you run out of range, your butt will go first if your seat ain't comfortable. So I'll tell you, one thing to also do is go out and get you a more comfortable seat. Cloud 9, whatever else. Because when you're talking about riding that long on these bikes, you better have a good seat. So that's part of my updated review. Watch for my next video to come out of me riding. I take the Lectric XP, the old school 1.0. I take this bike, which is Lectric XPremium, and I take my Rad Mini version 4, and we hop on a trailhead and we go to downtown Denver, go for a bite to eat, and ride on back. Pretty cool to do. And this is what this actual review is including, is my next ride I did after this. So I got a little bit of an idea of what to do, the do's and don'ts, and a better understanding how this bike is different from a hub motor bike in the real world. And like I said, I paid for this bike out of my pocket. This was not a sponsored review. Lectric XP did not send me a bike for free, and I'm going to rave about it. I'm just going to tell you the honest truth of what I think. If it's good for you, or, what else is out there, or should you get a mid-drive versus should you get a hub motor for real people with real-world situations. I will say, if you're really into mid-drive bikes, if you're a shorter rider, this is definitely a great bike for you. Be mindful of your physical strength with this bike. So if you don't have as much physical strength, this is probably not the bike for you, because this bike is like 75 pounds. Remember I said that, and it is heavier. It's a chunk. I know when I pick it up, it is a chunk compared even to my Rad Power e-bike. But don't take what I'm saying as like a negative towards Lectric XP, the company, in regards to they are budget e-bikes. The Lectric XPremium is a much better build than the other bikes that they came out with in the past. Well, of course it is. I think I paid $1,842 with tax for this bike. So it is a much better build bike, but do not let anybody tell you, oh, well, you should do this, or you should do this, or this is great just because of the long range. You must look at your physical abilities, what you can do in regards to your actual physical abilities. Can you put this bike in your car or your SUV or your truck? Do you need to get a ramp for this bike? Can you actually physically pedal this bike and do not a lot, but more of the leg work than you could on the Lectric XP 2.0? You don't have to do as much leg work on it as you do with this bike. Is this bike better on hills? That's a toss-up. I say yes. I want to say yes, but then I don't feel it as much. I don't know. I can't really tell you. I just don't really feel the difference as much with it. Which one has better throttle? I'd say the Rad Power e-bikes and the Lectric XP, the 2.0 and the step-through, have better throttle just for your regular needs. You do not need to drop down gears like you do in this. So when you use the throttle, make sure you're not sitting in the higher gears like the 6, 7s. Make sure you drop down to around 2 or 3. That saves it takes a lot of the strain off the mid-drive motor with this e-bike. So with the Lectric XPs or the Rad Powers, with the regular hub motor bikes, you don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about all that. So it takes a little bit more thinking with this bike, which is not a big deal. It's really not. But for some people, it is a bigger deal, and you may not want to do that. You just want to hop on your bike and go. You don't want to think about changing gears. Yeah, I want to help cycle a little bit and do the work a little bit myself, but I don't want to do more of the work and have to think about changing gears. Literally, the bike just keeps going type of thing. And I get it. No, I totally get it. And I totally understand. So that's what I'm saying. Look at what your needs are, what your physical capabilities are. You don't want to get a bike like this and realize you got it, and you're trying to put it into your car and realize you threw your back out trying to put a dang e-bike into your car, your SUV. So that's something to think about with this bike. Comfort level, great. The seats Lectric puts on their bike are actually better than Rad Power bikes. I tell you, Rad Power has better built bikes, but something about their seats, the ones I've had, sucked unless you get the upgraded ones. Whereas Lectric XP puts a decent seat on their bikes. I've had 2 electric bikes, and both the seats are pretty decent bikes that you can get, the original ones, not the upgraded ones. So the fit and finish of this bike is actually really good. But think about what your needs are. The range is legit on this bike. The tires, of course, are great fat tires. I'd much rather, instead of having knobby tires, have like a passenger style tire on this bike. I think it would help with the range and just the smoothness of it riding on the sidewalks and, you know, basic trails and stuff. I'm not doing any jumping in this bike or, you know, anything like that. We're not jumping off ramps. So I think a passenger style tire would be a much better tire for me. I did a little bit of off-road on this bike. It does pretty well. No real difference between it and the Lectric XP. One thing I could say with the mid-drive bikes, they are much more controlled when the power hits. When the power hits, it's not a jerk. It feels like a turbo. There's not a big whine. You will not hear the motor in this video, because the reality is you don't need to hear it, because there's nothing really to hear. It's so much quieter than the old ones. So that's something to think about. It's not going to be this huge whine. It tells people a million miles away that you're coming, you know, type of thing. As you can see while riding it, pretty easy. There's not much to it. It's a big boy, though. Don't let people tell you it's not. It really is. It is a big bike, but it's fun. I like it. I really like it for the range. Now, I'm also thinking about, because I told you I was looking at the Lectric XP Lite. Now it's got me thinking about getting the Lectric XP 2.0. Reason being, well, with that 65-mile battery range, that's a game changer. So that's something I'm keeping in the back of my mind. I'm not in a hurry. I'm getting kind of second thoughts of getting rid of my Lectric XP 1.0 because, well, it's one of my first e-bikes that I had, but I also still like it. I could change the forks if I really wanted to, but it does its thing. I don't really care. It works well. After I changed the controller, I've had no issues. Anyway, I hope this helps somebody out there. Just look at the plus and the minuses, what you need in regards to a mid-drive to a hub motor bike. Look at the weight ratio. Can you pick this bike up? Will this bike be a lot for you to use? Do you want to think when you're riding, change gears, do all that stuff? Or do you want to have an e-bike where you could leave in gear 6 or 7 and just ride, you know what I mean, and not even worry about it, and the motor does a lot of the work for you. Some things to think about. No answers all the way right and no answers all the way wrong. It's something you think about for your personal needs. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching my videos. I hope this helps somebody that's on the fence at looking at one of these bikes. Make a decision, or at least get a good idea of what they're getting into with this bike. All in all, this is a good bike. This is definitely a step in the right direction for Lectric XP in regards to their quality and the type of e-bikes that they're putting out. I'm satisfied with this bike. Thanks for watching. Frugal Panda out.